mean, the other nights when I went to Victoria Blamey, I almost had ears falling my. No, I had almost had drops of tears flowing from my eyes because she did something that a smart chef would make like the killer, the instant signature dish, but in her hands was just so good, so simply done, so heartfelt. She did an empanadas, but not with meat, but with crab. Someone I could bring my auntie, unfortunately, she's dead, and she would understand it, and she would like it. I would go with a nephew, if I had one, 7 years old. When you have that moment of grace that without pretending to solve the problems of the world or creating the ultimate masterpiece of the culinary knowledge, you make a dish that can touch a different sort of crowd through the ages, through the classes, through the differences. You are a macho man, cut to eat your empanadas stuffed to the beans with meat. You find it delicate, slightly spicy and gentle and creamy king crab. It's different, but you get the idea and you get the same pleasure. What I'm lacking is more of that, something that's not just so niche, made for a niche crowd, for that niche segment of the market.
Yeah, something that kind of applies to anyone, that it doesn't matter who you are, the restaurants you've gone to, you recognized the combination of flavors and textures because they're just it's a very human way of interpreting it.
And on top of that, you guys, Victoria, she's not the usual chef. She said, hey, I'm not your usual underdog. I'm a chef because I'm a chef. I'm not a good chef because I'm a woman or Latino American or whatever. I want to be judged by what I do. So there is no storytelling. There's no entertaining. When I first stepped into the new Blanca with Victoria, I saw Victoria at the sink and I said, ask myself, what is she doing? Is she washing dishes already? No. And she was actually giving the shoulders to the crowd, to the public, to the guests sitting at the counter, and she was opening up and washing the clams.
Yeah.
A bit like you enter the stage and it's empty, and little by little the show starts to go on and they cook in front of you without pretending to have the audience as a character playing in the script. You remember the movie by Jonathan Demme with the talking heads, Stop Making Sense?
Yeah.
David Byrne arrived alone with a guitar, and then little by little, it felt as free, as aerial, as involving as that movie's 50 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. No, I think it was like the 80s, wasn't it? Like 40 years ago, I guess. Yeah.
The talking heads were still going on. So 82, 50 years. 50 years.
And being a writer, a journalist, a curator of all these things, do you worry sometimes about not being able to get the message across? I mean, because people tend to go very easily to, the news, the fresh news, the hashtags, the labels, like, this is wild. This is all these descriptions of the events itself, I think reduce or sometimes get the wrong message of it. Do you worry about that as a curator, or is something that it's part of embracing, that chaos and see what happens?
You mean they worry if it happens that the readers don't get what they write?
Yeah, the initial.
That happens all the time, I must say.
Exactly. That's what I'm like, because hashtags, labels, trends, then it's so easy that people just reduce what the thing was about, or just have a take that is totally wrong, on it. So.
Okay, as I said, that happens all the time, but also chefs don't ask themselves, who am I cooking for? They take it for granted. They don't ask the question. Whether a filmmaker, if he does a B movie, if he does a pulp kind of fiction movie, or if he does an R&S movie, he asks, who am I filming for? A writer, when he writes a book, he has a certain idea of who is going to read the book. Chefs don't, unless we say that they only have the idea of that particular kind of guest, money-wise, that could or can afford to go to his restaurant. I think that's the only criteria that's shared by chefs all over the world. If it's a mid-range restaurant, they expect a certain kind of crowd. If it's a top-notch, high-end kind of restaurant, they expect another people from different classes. Nowadays, it's become extremely difficult to hashtag your usual reader. Why that? Because there are so many labels, so many crowds, so many different styles of cuisine, so many things happening around all over the world. And there's one thing that is crucial, that is really puzzling. It's like too much information kills the information. We know everything, what is happening now in Glasgow, in Singapore, in Jakarta, and in Rome and Tokyo, but we don't know what happened the day before, or we forgot what happened 15 years later.